several members of Trump's administration have been caught spending a considerable amount of taxpayer money on nonsense. We can't forget Tom Price, who had to resign after he was found to spend $900,000 on airfare in a mere 7 months. But now we have a bunch of other examples that I think the American people should know about. So for instance, Secretary of the Interior Ryan Zinke spent $139,000 on 3 sets of doors. Oh, those must have been the best doors made of the best solid wood imaginable. Like,
well, you know what? Maybe those are the same kind of doors that Trump wants to test out for his wall. Because you remember, he said, I mean, we're gonna have a big, beautiful door on the wall. So Zinke's Secretary of the Interior. The door faces the interior.
It's also, he's the Secretary of the Interior Design.
Okay, that's what was left out.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so I'm obsessed with interior design. There's no way those doors cost like a total of $139,000. There's no way, unless those were the largest doors made of the most luxurious wood. And maybe they had to do construction in the doorway in order to accommodate the doors. It just doesn't make sense. $139,000.
There were 6 of them. Let's be fair.
6 doors.
Okay, 3 sets of doors.
3 sets of doors.
Okay, but no, there's a real reason, by the way. So it's not that he wanted his doors to smell of rich mahogany. Okay, it's that both him and Pruitt, who got a phone booth that I think you're going to tell us about a little bit later, want secrecy. So they want to make sure that no sound gets out. Gee, I wonder why. Because you know, when you're doing above the board deals, you care a lot about sound leaking from your office, right? No, when you got the donors in and you're saying, thank you for the legalized bribe, now what can I do for you? And cutting shady deals, then you need doors with tremendous soundproofing to make sure nobody hears.
But still, even with the soundproofing, not buying it. Just not buying it.
Of course not.
Yeah. No. Well, I'll give you some other examples, and Cenk quickly mentioned this. Scott Pruitt spent $43,000 on a phone booth. I don't know what that means either. Okay. So, like, did he want to go retro and
maybe it's for his magic act. I think it's for his magic act. I think there's an assistant in there, he cuts in half. It's probably an exotic animal as well.
I got a different theory. I like all our theories. It's cosplay. He dresses up as Superman, but doesn't want to let people know. And every afternoon he's like,
I can't imagine him as Superman. He's got to be the evildoer.
Yeah. Maybe it's for Lex Luthor dress up day. But again, in all seriousness, the phone booth makes no sense in the year 2017 unless you need a place to make phone calls where no one can hear you. And Scott Pruitt's also the guy that is in the news today because he won't reveal his meetings with people that come into his office because he's worried you might find out the deals that he's making.
Right. Look, and by the way, of course, you look at these numbers and they seem ridiculous, but when you look at the grand scheme of things and how much money our government spends in taxpayer dollars, it doesn't seem like it's much, it's just a drop in the bucket. But the point is, these are the same people who will turn around and talk about cutting entitlement spending, right? By the way, they're entitlements because we've paid into them with our taxpayer money. They talk about cutting those entitlements, and then the stereotype on the right wing is that people don't want to work, people are wasteful with their money, they're irresponsible. I mean, you don't think $43,000 for a phone booth is irresponsible, or $139,000 on 3 sets of doors? And then this is my personal favorite. Secretary of Housing and Urban Development Ben Carson spent $31,000 to order a new dining room set. So the backstory to this is even more fascinating. So the HUD office had a dining room set that was old, admittedly, it was from 1988. And
wow.
Well, I mean,
I thought you were going to say like it was from Andrew Jackson era. Okay, 88. I made it to college in 88.
In 88, Jack Kemp was the Secretary of HUD, former NFL player.
Yeah.
But you get what I mean. It was scuffed up. I saw photos of it, and I was like, okay, I get it. They do need a new dining room set. I get it. But okay, so $31,000 for a dining room set seems outrageously expensive. I don't buy it. I don't think dining room sets cost that much. I don't care how nice and luxurious it is. But when Ben Carson was asked about this, he was like, I had no part of this. I didn't even know about it. I didn't play any role in picking out,
How did that get there?
And then emails revealed that he and his wife chose this dining room set.
Like personally chose it.
Yes.
And that makes
But to be fair to Ben Carson,
carved it.
he might have been asleep when he wrote that.
He might have been asleep.
You're right. You're
He
right.
might have been like under the table itself. He might have been just curled up right under that table. Going, I'm
that
not
old
qualified for this.
ratty table.
Yes,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's the best and the worst one because
Yeah.
it's the best because. I mean, when you compare it to $139,000 for doors, this is going to be used every day. They didn't need a new dining set. Of course, $31,000 is absurd. It's government money, but it's
Yeah.
also the worst because he just lied.
Right.
He just
Yes.
plain lied about what happened.
So we're gonna get to Mnuchin in a second, but I can't get off of Ben Carson for a second, okay? Because, so look, I actually think the $31,000 dining room table, I don't know, man. Look, if my wife said, hey, would you like to buy a $31,000 dining room table? First of all, with whose money? Right? Second of all, are you insane? Are you insane? Okay, but I get it. We're a family, and there it's a government office, and presumably it's larger. And I'm not freaked out by the $31,000. They waste so much money. There's probably a $31,000 hammer somewhere in the Pentagon, right? And I think that you're right that the lying about it is the bigger problem. But a lot of times the press like focuses on this stuff, but $1.5 trillion in tax cuts for the rich is so much larger. Do you know how many dining room sets they're gonna buy with that?
The media is the rich. The media is not like us, okay? They're not like us where we're making, not with anchors on CNN and MSNBC and whatever. They're making a lot more money. They
But
are the rich.
that's only a handful of. There are only a handful of people in the media making a ton of money. They're writers and watchdogs, and when you hear Donald Trump talk about the media. And he says, look at these elite, rich, wealthy. Everyone in the media room listening to him was looking at like, really?
No, but you're right. And I'm glad that you mentioned that distinction because in print, there was definitely great reporting about those tax cuts and how unpopular they were, how disastrous they were, how it was a huge handout to the wealthy. But you don't see the same type of reporting on television. And think about what these television or who these television networks are owned by, which corporations they're owned by. They don't want that kind of reporting.
So that's why they report on the minor league corruption,
Right.
and it's both good to point it out and also a bit of a distraction. And look, I think we're logically consistent. We point out both, and we point out the donations to the politicians being far worse because in fact here, let me give you a number that's amazing. So and talk about the scale of the real problem. In a 5-year period between 2010 and 2015, the top 200 corporations that spent money in trying to influence politicians spent $5.8 billion. Now that's a lot of money. It's the top 200 corporations. It doesn't even count all of them, right? 5.8 billion. You know how much they got back from the government in subsidies, handouts, etc.? $4.4 trillion.
God, it burns.
So that's the legalized bribery.
Right.
And so us looking at a couple of doors and dining room tables, it's important to point out, but it's not nearly as important as the $4.4 trillion that walked out the building because we allow bribery in this country.
I know, but just juxtapose a dining room set to food stamps for the needy. To make sure that kids have food on their plate.
They'll cut everything, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I'm sorry, guys. That's such a good point because in the same week, Ben Carson put out a statement saying, hey, look, people got to pick themselves up by the bootstraps because he runs housing and urban development. He's supposed to help poor people with housing, right? And he's like, no. He was worried that they would get, they had to be weaned off the government dole.
Right.
On the government dole, he just bought a $31,000 dining room table. And the other reason why, to be fair to the media that focuses on it, by the way, including us, we're doing this story, is that it's easier to relate to a dining room table than it is a $4.4 trillion in crony capitalism.
Yeah.
But the pull yourself up, I mean, this personal responsibility narrative is such a joke. These people are children with monopoly money. We taxpayers, create these fat coffers for them that they just go and, it's
and
stunning.
mandating the bootstrapper as opposed to teaching how to bootstrap are two different things.
Very true.
And when you hear somebody like Ben Carson say it, it's kind of hysterical in his position now, right?
Where he's totally unqualified.
So now we go to Mnuchin.
Yes.
And so he spent $995,000 on 8 military jet trips since taking office in last February. So they crunched the numbers on that, and it turns out he spent $2,507 per day since he's taken office on just airfare.
Right, and these are not commercial flights. These are obviously private jets. And the reason, and so he was questioned about that. And he said the reason why he refuses to fly commercial is because he needs privacy in order to discuss national security matters with Trump. This is the Treasury Secretary.
There's that
and
phone
he's
booth.
discussing national security. By the way, Trump doesn't want to be briefed on national security.
Yeah, that's true. Right.
So no one's buying that for a second.
So show us the phone logs of how many times he's spoken to Trump from an airplane, not from a military airplane. I mean, because I can't imagine it's maybe ever.
It's not before 11 a.m.
Right? And right. And if there's an emergency, you don't. I mean, it was in something we wrote or I read earlier that you don't call. It's like, oh, get me Mnuchin. The country's about to explode, right? No.
Well, I love that potential conversation. We've got trouble in Waziristan. Get Mnuchin on the line. Like, why would you call the Treasury Secretary about a national security issue like that? And what are the chances that Donald Trump knows where Waziristan is?
Right, that's true. This a good time before we go to talk about. We're talking about finances. Louise Slaughter, the eldest member of the House of Representatives, died today. A congresswoman from upstate New York, Rochester area, born in Kentucky, so she was from Rochester, and she had a thick Southern accent. She wrote the Stock Act, and the Stock Act is the act that made it illegal for members of Congress to trade on information that they got to protect consumers from not having that unfair advantage. So it all plays into this. There are people in Washington working to stop this stuff. They just don't have voices that are loud. And she was the first woman to run the Rules Committee, one of the most the most powerful committee in Congress. A pretty cool lady.
Wow.
And the Trump administration, in the previous story we did, is gutting the Stock Act. So, of course. And last thing on this, I'm amazed by their lack of conscience. I guess I shouldn't be there. It's Mnuchin. He's the one that took advantage of the economic crash to profit off the foreclosures. And he worked at Goldman Sachs for a long period of time. It said he's the globalist financial elite guy that Trump was talking about during the campaign. I mean, they're like, him and his wife are like comic book villains, down to their outfits, etc. But it doesn't occur to him that, hey, charging the taxpayer $995,000 for 8 trips, eight trips
also,
on a
he's the
plane.
Secretary of Treasury, of one person who should know when you're wasting money and being stupid with money, right? The one American, right?
Right. And they do it anyway because they have no regard for you.
If you like this video, bless your heart. We got a lot more where that came from. We do a full show every day, Monday through Friday. Come enjoy it ad-free by becoming a member. tytnetwork.com/join.